Well, hello there. Not too long ago, I decided that I wanted to get tested for COVID. So I went over to Holy Child Hospital here in Dumaguete. There's about 5 hospitals here. And I asked if they did a swab test. I asked the nurses over at the ER, and they said no, they don't do a swab test here. And so I asked if they did a antibody test, and they said yeah, sure, they do an antibody test, just go to the lab. So I went to the lab. It was 1,400 pesos, and they drew my blood, and I came back, I think it was like 2 or 3 days later, and I picked it up, and I was negative for antibodies to COVID. Now they do have a value on my reading, my results. It said 0.28, and then at the bottom it said, in order to be positive for antibodies, you had to have at least a 1.0. So I was negative for antibodies. So then after that, I went to Silliman, and I told the information desk, I said, I want to get a swab test. And they said, well, just go over to the lab. So I went to the lab, and I said I wanted to get a swab test, and they said, we don't do that. And I said, well, where can I go? And they said, well, you have to go to the provincial hospital. Okay, so I went over there, and looking around, parked the motorcycle and started looking around, where do I do a swab test? So I saw a sign. Now there's a building, I guess the best way to describe it, it's like facing the national highway. And so I went, there was a sign there, and it said swab test and an arrow. So I went over there, and I went on I had to go on the second floor, and there's like a teller window type thing, and they have a clear plastic thing across the spot where there's an opening. So it was kind of hard to hear. I was asking them, where do I get it and all that. So I thought, well maybe I should move this plastic thing, and they can hear me and I can hear them better. And the lady put her hand on it right away, so I realized that moving the position of the clear plastic part there across the opening was not allowed. And so, but anyway, she told me, well, you have to go over to like the business office and pay, and then come back, with the receipt. So I went over there. So when I went to go pay for it, I had to go to the main hospital entrance in there to make my payment, and they quoted me was 3,200 pesos for a swab test. And so the person that was taking my money asked me, do you have a senior citizen card? And I thought, a senior citizen card? Huh. So I handed her my Medicare card, and she took the card, and then when I actually paid the bill, I handed in 3,200 pesos, and I got change. I got 640 pesos back, and my receipt was I think 26. $25.60. So I got a discount with a Medicare card. Now, I think somebody told me later on that if you have a PhilHealth card, you even get more of a discount, but I'm not sure. Okay, so I have my receipt. This is my receipt here. So I have my receipt and I go back up to the second floor at this building. And I said, well, okay, here's my receipt. And the person at the window, she said I needed to go further down. And so I thought, well, where do I need? So I went to the door next to it, and it was really tinted glass door. And so I thought, well, I can't see in there, and I think this is what she was trying to say. So I opened the door, and when I opened the door, there was a security guard going like this, and he was pointing, you know, you need to go further down. And I thought, okay. So I went a little bit further down, there's another booth, and of course, like a teller window type thing. Same thing, but, you know, a different place. So I showed her my receipt, and she said, come back at 1:30 and we're going to be giving out numbers. Okay. Now it's like 12:45. 12:45. So I had 45 minutes. So I just went over and found a place to sit down outside and waited. And then I came back at about 1:25, and there was a woman outside of the teller windows, and she had numbers, and she handed me a number. I said, where do I go? She said, you have to go one floor up. Okay. So I go to the third floor, and there's this gigantic room there. I mean, it's huge. And there's chairs sitting there for like social distancing. And there are two small tables that these women sat in a chair, and it's like plexiglass all around. And there's a little hole where they talk through. And so I thought, well, do I wait till my number is called? And I wasn't really sure what to do. And then somebody came up to me and said, well, you need to fill out this paper. It was one sheet. Okay, so after I filled it out, then I waited for my number to be called, and I went up to the little stand, where it's like a little desk. And so I sat down and I handed my paper. There's no way to go through the plexiglass, so you have to hand it over the top. So I handed up my paper, and then she pulled out a 3-page form, and I thought, well, looks like I have to fill out some more papers. But she filled it out, and she looked at my paper and asked me questions and filled it out. Okay, so that was that. And then I had to sit down in one of the chairs, and it wasn't really crowded. There's not that many people there. So I sat down in one of the chairs, and I was told that the swabber would call me. So the swabber is a woman that has like the whole get up, with a mask and, shield and everything, and gloves. And so I sat there, and they stuck the swab, fairly deep into both nostrils. Then she got another swab and stuck it down in my throat. Okay, now, what do I do now? Okay, so I asked, and they said, well, you have to come back and get your results. Now, I did look on the wall there, and there was a paper, and it said that if you're positive, then somebody will come and fetch you. And it says take your, belongings that you will need. And I thought, okay, well, they have my address, they have my phone number, and I waited a couple of days to, to come back and get my results, but no one came to fetch me. So, so what am I going to do here? So then I thought, well, I'll take a backpack of stuff that I think I might need, and then go over there to the provincial hospital and get my results. If it's positive, then I'll be ready to do any kind of isolation that's needed. And so I went over there and got my results, and it was negative. And but they misspelled my name, and I thought, well, I'm just doing this just to find out if I'm negative, and I kind of want to know, what the drill is, so if I need to get it later on. And so I talked to the security guard. I showed him my my receipt, which my name is spelled correctly, but my results are, my name wasn't spelled correctly. So he took everything with and back inside. And then a lady came out and she said, okay, we have your name spelled that's on your receipt correctly. And is there anything else? I said, no. Well, thank you for doing that. So anyway, I have a negative result for now anyway, and it's just a little bit of an overview of how I did it. Now, there's probably easier ways to get your swab test someplace in Dumaguete, but if you're just kind of you're not really sure where to go or what to do or how much it costs, then you can do it the way I did it. And that's about it. Thanks for watching.